Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
There's a pathway forward. Justice in this case, which means all 4 officers have to be arrested, charged, convicted, and jailed. That's justice. That's one leg. The other leg, while everybody is completely aware that there's a big problem in law enforcement, let's get together, Republicans, Democrats, law enforcement, community, civil rights, and pass a bipartisan bill this year. It could be done this year. You could ban the chokehold this year.
Van Jones. Need to get together. I agree. Are we at that point where we're going to get together? No, not right now. People want to be listened to. You can bring the data and the facts and say, look, this is what it is, and this is what the data says. And then you can go through that and show the data and the facts. No matter what it is. Doesn't matter. We talk about COVID-19. We could talk about race in America, dealing in law enforcement. You could talk about airplanes. You could shark attack. In the moment, people want to be listened to, right? They're not looking for the solution at this moment in time. They just want people to hear their pain, to listen to it, and to process. Anybody who's ever been married or had a long-term relationship, every once in a while, in a relationship, even my son's a perfect example where sometimes he gets upset and he wants to talk, but he doesn't want a solution. He just wants to get it off. He's upset. He wants to have something to say about a situation. And it's the same thing in relationships. And that includes everybody. And this now you take that and magnify that by tens of millions of people. People are upset. They're angry. They feel helpless. They feel lost. They want a solution. But at this moment in time, what they want is for people to listen. For people to listen. I have no problem with that. I think it's a good thing. I don't think you'd be surprised. Many of us don't listen to anything, right? To anything. We don't listen to our coworkers. We don't listen to our family members. We don't listen. We don't listen. We think we're listening because we're hearing something, but we're not really processing it because we've got in our own mind. Because what I see out there, especially now in what we're dealing with here with race, which has never been dealt with the right way, and it's getting tougher to deal with it on a daily basis because we have cancel culture and people are afraid to talk, but everybody's want to always be right in everything. And what that does is that cancels the other person's feelings or their experiences, because we also take everything personally. Let's be real, right? We take everything now personally. All you have to do is look at politics to see how personal things have gotten. If you vote for Trump, you love Trump, Trump's your man, and he can do no wrong. On the other side, if somebody voted for Trump, you can't stand Trump, and that's a personal affront on you, and you're the blue side of the aisle and the red side of the aisle. And it's great. We take everything personal now because we now identify. We've been told we have to identify as stuff. So it doesn't matter what you're identifying with, whether you identify now as a woman or you identify as a Republican or a Democrat. It's now, this is who I am. That's tough because we take things personally. So when you try to say, let me show you some facts, and facts matter, data matters, people feel like, well, you're attacking them personally. And in doing so, what are you doing? You're discounting my experiences, my beliefs. Last night was peaceful. The night before was pretty peaceful. You've got some yahoos out there that are going out there and doing stuff. By and large, that is slowly but surely dissipating, and people now want to be listened to. They don't want to be told this. They don't want to be told that. They don't want to be told what their feelings are. They want to be listened to and for people to process. But when people process and we decide we're going to come to a point where we can really start discussing things and having true conversations, we've got to be able to set aside feelings and make it businesslike. Right? Make it business. It's not personal, it's business. But that's a tough thing to do anymore because everything seems to be personal. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us, text the program. All of that going on. So you've got hundreds of thousands of people across the nation marching 7+ days in a row. Memorial for George Floyd's family. All of that going on. We forget that we're in the midst of a pandemic, and guess what? Unemployment numbers.
1.9 million people applied for jobless benefits last week, fewer than in prior weeks, but still astonishingly high as the pandemic's grip on the U.S. economy refuses to loosen despite reopenings in every state. The number of weekly jobless claims fell below 2 million for the first time since March, a sign the worst may be over for the labor market, but also a signal employers aren't sure how quickly business will bounce back.
And we don't know that. How fast are things going to return? Let's talk about the fact, too, that the perfect storm of eyeballs, people at home, people frustrated, people scared, people are seeing the potential financial failures coming their way. Their businesses are struggling. Individuals are looking at unemployment going to run out, and it's not going to be enough, and they've got to pay mortgages, and they got to pay this, and they're making choices. And now this happens, and you've got this perfect. And on top of that, we've got people who are still fighting this pandemic worldwide and here. It's not gone anywhere. It's not gone anywhere at all. And you've got 43 million Americans nearly since the start of this pandemic who are without a job. That is scary. And many, many, many people are starting to look around and go, okay, what's going to happen now? Like we're in the midst of these protests. COVID is still here. They're still working on it. That's been pushed to the side. And with all of these things going on, we're starting to read report after report after report that this isn't going to be the light switch or maybe even the dimmer. This is, you're going to have to go, rewire, go to the store, buy one of those LEDs, come home, put it in, turn it on, and slowly watch it turn on. Meaning, we're talking 5 to 10 years, potentially. That's a long time, right? 2008, while it was bad, let's just remember, in 2008, majority of Americans, by a long shot, had their jobs still. Things were tight, but a majority of Americans were still employed gainfully. Depending on where you were in the country, 85 to 90% of people were still. Some places it was 95%, some places it was 75%, but a majority of Americans were still employed. And they weren't worried about their position. They figured they could still work and get some. Here, we have no idea how this is going to play out. We have no idea. So all of that is going on. And then you've got what's happening right now with the anger in America of those 4 officers and what happened to George Floyd. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Love hearing from every single one of you. Hope you're doing well. Just smile. It's hard, It's like it's tough. It is a tough thing. Talk about you want to talk about stuff, and I get it, and I argue all the time with my uncle because I can argue with him because we're family, right? And it's it's interesting because, as I was trying to explain to him last night when we were talking about, and my uncle, for those of you guys who don't know, my uncle is, if you saw us, you'd be like, how are you guys related? And we're blood related, right? His wife, my auntie, I call her auntie. I'm older than both of them, odd too, by a year. She's black. He's Mexican. Are you Mexican? Yes. And the arguments that, like he and I have, because he's a super Trump supporter. In fact, to the point where his wife, who's also a Trump supporter, always laughs and tells him, no, you can't wear your MAGA hat anywhere. You can't, because all you want to do is stir. And, I was telling him last night, man, about like just being able to have a conversation is in this country. It's tough. Because I think the problem for us right now is everybody wants to find a solution at this moment in time. And the solution's the right thing, but it's the wrong time. And he's struggling getting that. He goes, what do you mean? I'm just saying, data and facts, all that stuff aside, sometimes people want to be listened to. They don't need the solution at this moment. They want a solution. But right now, the emotions and what they've been feeling, they want to be listened to. And for people very analytical, they just don't get that. And he's very analytical. And I'm like, I said, Paul, I said, has Karma ever been mad at you? Yeah. Does sometimes she just want to vent? Oh, yeah. I said, and then you start talking? He goes, oh, she gets frustrated. I said, boom. He goes, oh. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us, text the program, Wounded Paw Project. Ernesto, such a good dude, right? Guy who rescues animals that would be euthanized, dogs, takes them from the shelter, makes them service dogs. He's got a couple dogs out here in Phoenix that they're just finishing up training. One of them is going to be a service dog for an autistic child. And what is amazing about this, it was a fight dog, like a true hard case fight dog. They take some of the hardest cases and show that with love that you can change. And it's incredible. What they do when they rescue these dogs is start to train them, and depending on what it is, the need for the wounded soldier, whether it's PTSD and they need something, as a comfort and to help them to recognize what's going on, or whether it's for an injury and to help them in that way, it's incredible. Not only to help our veterans, they also help our first responders and their families. And right now, they're getting inundated with calls. You can help by giving. You can go to smile.amazon.com, set your supporting group there to help Wounded Paw. Or better yet, give a car, the gift of a car, great tax-deductible gift. And by the way, if you're saying, well, I was thinking about trading my car in, you don't have to trade anything in. Never been better to buy a car. They'll give you what you want. Take this and get a great tax-deductible gift and see the work they're doing by donating. Go to woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org, woundedpawproject.org. Chad Benson Show.
I, you, he, she, it. Lucy is a girl.
Point of personal privilege. Please do not use gendered language to address everyone.
Shut up, boo. Ain't nobody got time for this.
This is the Chad Benson Show.
I filed an amended complaint that charges former Minneapolis police officer Derek Chauvin with murder in the second degree for the death of George Floyd.
Keith Ellison yesterday, AG, bumped so Chauvin is charged with second-degree murder, third-degree murder, and manslaughter. Aim big, hit big, aim small, miss small. What I mean by that is if you give a narrow pathway for the jury, there's too many opportunities for reasonable doubt. And that sounds like, what? I mean, we saw the whole thing. Understand that. The jury's going to see and hear things that we're not privy to. And they're also going to hear the other side of the story. However, that's going to be painted by the defense and their attorneys. And I say there because they charged the other 3 officers finally.
Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman and I filed a complaint that charges police officer King, Lane, and Tao with aiding and abetting murder in the second degree, a felony offense.
Now, one of the reasons they changed it potentially to second degree was because to get them, they had to bump it up, or they may not have been able to charge them.
In order to be able to charge the other officers as accomplices, you actually have to have a murder charge that requires specific intent, and third-degree murder was not a charge that required intent.
Oh. So they face potentially 3 years in prison, but also they could get the same. And second degree carries 40 years. And this is just the beginning, because there may be other charges coming. And then there will be the Department of Justice and what they do when it comes to the civil charges that will be coming. And they have mandatory minimums. Think about that. And then the civil lawsuits. And the civil lawsuits are going to be huge. The city and the state are going to pay out a tremendous amount. These people are ruined, and I've got zero problem with that. You're not going to see me not sleep at night because their lives are ruined. One of those officers at any given time could have went over and grabbed him and said, "What the hell are you doing?" And not only would this be different, the way that the police would be looked upon right now is like, there's a good cop. But instead, the other 3 stood by, and outside of, "Don't you think we should turn him over?" silent. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. COVID's still here. Unemployment up. Talk a little bit about that. And the Cheesecake Factory was raided. Wait till you hear this reporter. Fantastic audio. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Now you're on a pathway back toward wholeness and toward healing. And you have 20, 30, 40, probably 50 million white Americans that would agree with everything I just said and be happy to see it in both parties. And you have people who always know that racism was a big issue, but it was number 17 on their list. Bipartisan legislation and economic relief to these communities, and you can turn a breakdown into a breakthrough.
Van Jones talking right there. Look, I don't know anybody, white or black, Hispanic or Asian, gay or straight, who doesn't believe that there are systematic issues with race that need to be dealt with. Now, people will debate how bad it is or isn't, and people will go find the facts that substantiate that. And at the end of the day, it's also an individual thing. It is. It's an individual thing. I've got friends who are black who haven't gone through being pulled over and stuff. Haven't. Like on a day-to-day basis. And they'll come out and say, no, our old roommate Colo. It's like he's from England, but he lived here. He didn't have the I didn't see it. Don't see it. Buddy Caleb, I'm going to post something later on that he wrote, which is it's an amazing piece that he wrote. Just a dude. He works with us, still does. Wrote something that was awesome. And doesn't understands what people feel, but doesn't have the same experiences. Everybody's always looking, it's the right or rich, right? And I say that because we're always trying to look at the internet. We're always trying to be right. Well, why are you trying to be right? What's an ego thing? I want to be right. Arguments, doesn't matter what it is. Argument with your kid, argument with your mom, argument with your family, argument with your wife or your coworker or your husband or your. I want to be right. I want to be right. So we're going to look all around, pick things up, look at stuff. Where's stuff that could substantiate the things that I want to be right. And even if you know you're wrong, you fight harder to find some way to say, even though I may not be right, I'm kind of right. And when you approach everything from, I want to be right, rather than I want to understand and I want to get it, I'm going to listen. And then, you want to be able to have your say, right? I mean, nobody doesn't want that. Nobody says, no, I just want to listen to what everybody has to say and I don't want to have any input. And we all want to have input. But and for a long time I didn't understand this. I didn't understand it. Because I was on that I'd rather be right thing. And there's nothing wrong with being right. There isn't. But we go to extremes now that in trying to prove a point and trying to win whatever argument wins, you're also in many cases arguing in such a way that even if you win, you lose. And that doesn't help heal or move a conversation forward. Everybody's got their own experiences. Everybody does. We can't discount people's experiences. And all too often we do. And I think that's in this want nowadays to be right and politics is the perfect place, man. Politics is the perfect place right now to see how much people want to be right all the time. Because they'll pick and choose things that they think fit a narrative and they'll fight for it. And they close their mind and never want to entertain that maybe the thing that they are fighting for, there is truth in there, but it's not the whole story. And when it's not the whole story, it's not really truth, but it's the truth that you want it to be. And because we're leading and living in a world where feelings now have override facts, and that's what matters most. And then what happens is you take everything personal. And then when you start to take things personal, it becomes emotional. It becomes emotional. Nothing ever gets solved. It just doesn't. So to have a conversation, to move forward, I think every American can realize there's issues that need to be dealt with. And I think we can deal with those issues. But first we have to listen and we have to allow people to process. And then when we get to the point where we're really ready to have a discussion, everybody's got to have an open mind. And it's individual basis. Everybody says it starts from the top. It doesn't start from the top, right? Like when Obama was president, things didn't get a lot better. It wasn't, it wasn't like, it starts with us, your community. It starts with you and I and everybody else having conversations. But to have those conversations, you can't get personal and you can't take it personal. Because when that starts to happen, that's when things go south. And then that's when winning the argument becomes more important than what we're talking about. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You could tweet at us. You could text the program as well. Drew Brees on Yahoo Finance. Somebody asked him about what's going on. Of course, the Kaepernick subject came up, and then the flag.
Well, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my two grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place.
Tone deaf in this moment in time when it comes to that? You would think.
You have not stepped up to the plate, Drew. To stay silent when your peers are screaming from the mountaintops that we need help. Our communities are under siege and we need help. And what you're telling us is don't ask for help that way. Ask for a different way. I can't listen to it when you ask that way. We're done asking, Drew. And people who share your sentiments and push them throughout the world, the airways, are the problem.
Yeah, Malcolm Jacobs there. You've got teammates who are pissed off, people who are upset, angry, and the NFL has, the NFL NBA players are becoming more vocal. They're using their platforms. The NFL has been dealing with this from the Kaepernick thing and what went down in the protest and how he was treated. You just have to say Kaepernick. I could post a picture of Kaepernick and I can guarantee you it'll start the fight. Drew Brees can't, and here's the thing, they're having two separate arguments. Drew Brees is talking about how he sees the flag. He says it. I see the flag. How I see it. Kaepernick and other people are seeing it in a different way. In a different way. My issue with Kaepernick was, first of all, I supported him. Take a knee. It's the beauty of America, Drew. Your grandfathers fought so people could protest. My issue in several things with it came to calling Kaepernick is when it came to the playing side, I felt like you wanted to be, that wasn't as important. And this is a business. And the NFL is trying to do their thing. Right? You're trying to make your money. You're a business. And your platform's big, and you wanted to use your platform in such a way. The other thing about him is I felt like whatever the narrative was at the time, first it was police brutality, then it was the flag and the nation itself is racist, and then it was it just felt like he was changing, where he was going with it. But I supported him. I said, go ahead. People are like, I can't believe. And, I'm in talk radio. My God, Chad, what the hell are you thinking? How could you support him? Because I believe in free speech. Now, the business has a right to say, look, this is what we're asking you to do. As a business, this is what we're asking you to do because this is our workplace. And that's a separate conversation. But people were mad at Drew.
And it's unfortunate because I considered you a friend. I looked up to you. You're somebody who I had a great deal of respect for. But sometimes you should shut the up.
Ooh. Malcolm Jacobs are not happy. Now, Drew, this morning, Instagram, I'd like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, and anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about the respect and unity and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issue we are facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion or empathy. Instead, the words have become divisive and hurtful and misled people into believing that somehow I am the enemy. He goes on from there. And, of course, just destroyed by people. You're a blankety blank. You're a this. You're the that. You should be canceled. They were right. Go retire. Blank you. But you sit there and just like, okay, well, he apologized. And I think he was tone deaf. But I also don't think he wasn't talking about the same thing. He was talking about how he sees the flag. And tone deaf in the moment, not reading the room, is one thing. Saying something because you disagree with something else, That's another thing. He didn't read the room. He looked around. He's like, you asked me why. I said, well, I think about when I see the flag, I think about the military. My grandfather's fighting for these things. He didn't read the room. He walked into a wedding, and in the first dance, he's looking around. He goes, all right, it's a wedding, and I'm going to play I Like Big Butts, or AC/DC. And you're just like, didn't read the room. Didn't read the room. People were pissed because they're like, you should have said something in such a way. And that's what people are looking for people to do. Leaders, people who have that platform, especially people who are white. But that's tough too, because I think a lot of people are afraid to say something, don't know where they stand, and don't know if what they say is going to be construed in a certain way. Remember, in this day and age, it is no longer what you say or how it was meant. It is how it is taken. And in the day of cancel culture, there are a lot of people out there who are afraid to talk about a lot of things for fear that that's the last conversation they'll have while employed somewhere. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson shows your Twitter. You can tweet at us. 1.9 million people filed for unemployment last week. 43 million total since the pandemic started. And we'll find out tomorrow what the full jobs report looks like. And I'm going to say it's going to be ugly. AMAC, Association of Mature American Citizens. Here's something I can do for you. They got 2.1 million members. They are out there fighting for you. They did a poll of all their members about Tom Cotton and what he's trying to do, which is protect our pharmaceutical supply and bring manufacturing home from China. Those are some of the things that they're out there helping fight for. Common sense immigration reform, common sense Medicare reform, Social Security, making sure it's all there and solvent. Top of that, they get great benefits, retail, restaurant, hotels. So when life gets back to normal, you can take total advantage of those. And here's the great thing. It doesn't cost you anything. First year membership's free, right? Free. So it's like when they say free, it's free. Just go sign up. AMAC, AMAC.US/Chad. Sign up now. It's free. AMAC.US/Chad. AMAC.US/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Set Chad straight. Text the show, 323-538-2423. That's 323-538-CHAD. Someone has to do it. Might as well be you. The Chad Benson Show.
It's tough to travel right now, especially internationally, with many COVID-19 restrictions still in place. But thanks to Season 3 of Somebody Feed Phil on Netflix, you can travel virtually.
This is like world's best sandwich.
With host Phil Rosenthal to London, Montreal, Marrakesh, and other places. And he tells me when the restrictions are lifted, watch out.
I think people are going to go out of their minds when the world is open again. There's going to be such an appreciation for life. And my joke is that appreciation is going to last 2 weeks.
Season 3 of Somebody Feed Phil is on Netflix now.
Now, Phil, I didn't know you had a show.
Apparently I do.
Now, what would we feed you last night? Like, what did you have? Because you love your cooking. For those of you guys who don't know, producer Phil loves to cook, and he needs to film more. So what did we make last night? Anything exciting?
We had shrimp scampi.
Shrimp scampi. I had El Pollo Loco. It's delicious. Delicious. El Pollo Loco. Delicious. But Phil loves to have good meals. Got to see it.
And it shows.
At least once a weekend, Phil will send me a plate of something he's getting ready to prepare. Barbecue, I'm smoking this, I'm doing that, I'm and thinking to myself, did I eat at Wendy's twice yesterday? Chad, so weird. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. Major League Baseball still being Major League Baseball. Oh, goodness me. Apparently, I don't think Major League Baseball is just coming back. And the players, you're the problem, guys. I'm being honest.
Right now, Major League Baseball feels like it has the advantage. It has the ability to say to the players, we are going to make the season what we want it to be. You guys want your full prorated share of your salary? Fine. We'll give you that. We're just going to do it over 50 games.
And that's what they're looking at. And they want more. And I don't know what the players are hoping for, because here's the thing. Guess what, baseball? You aren't baseball the way you used to be.
If baseball comes back, they're going to open it earliest on June 20th. You take it into the middle of July, and then the NBA starts on July 31st. NBA playoffs start, 2 weeks later? That is Major League Baseball completely ceding its territory to a sport that believes so much in its product and so little in Major League Baseball's that it is considering moving its season entirely to go over what baseball had with those summer months.
Yeah, that's because they're not worried about baseball. Basketball knows. We got you. The pecking order looks like this. NFL, right behind it, NBA. Then you've got Major League Baseball. On its heels is Major League Soccer. The soccer's growing faster and faster. It's a regional sport, baseball. It is. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson shows your Twitter. And yes, hockey. I love hockey, but I'm being honest here. Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Although I was very young when you had riots and protests and assassinations and discord back in the 60s, I know enough about that history to say there is something different here. You look at those protests. That was a far more representative cross-section of America out on the streets, peacefully protesting, who felt moved to do something. That didn't exist back in the 1960s, that kind of broad coalition. There is a change in mindset that's taking place, a greater recognition that we can do better.
Former President Obama always gives a good speech, right? Always gives, well, you don't have to like him, right? And many people out there don't. But he does give a good speech, and talking about the protest. Here's the thing, across the world right now, people are looking at America and they're upset and they're angry and as if everything bad that's happened only happens here. And we do no good, which we all know is a bunch of crap, right? It's all a bunch of, that's just a hot, steamy turd. America's the greatest experiment of all time, the greatest creation nation-wise of all time. The mixtures of our cultures and who we are is huge. I lived in Europe. I want to talk about systems that were segregated and classed. Wow. Go to Sweden. Look at the go to China. You will find no more. Oh, no. Well, England's pretty diverse. Diverse-ish. Right? You've got you've got people from India and Pakistan. That's true. Northern parts of the country. You've got London's a pretty diverse area. People from the West Indies. But nothing like we are. Not even close. Like, not even anywhere near what we are. France has its issues. They're out there protesting. They've got their issues big time. We're changing, and the change comes in time. People want to know, hey, when are we going to get to this point? Well, there's a few things that have to happen. Change takes time, right? Doesn't matter what it is. If you want to lose 40 pounds because you put 40 pounds on, guess what? 40 pounds didn't happen overnight. You didn't wake up and go, oh, my God. I used to be 180 pounds. Now I'm 220. Well, tomorrow maybe I'll wake up and be 180. You know what? It takes time. Changing behaviors. My generation, Gen X, totally different. The millennial generation, totally different. The Gen Z generation, right, which is my son's generation, totally different. More diverse, looks at things in a much different way. That's awesome. And that comes with time. You know, time heals all wounds. Yeah. There's something to that for sure. And we have to move forward. But now it's one of those things where people on the streets, people out protesting, people out doing what they're doing, what they want is to be listened to. They don't want the problem solved today because they know that's not going to happen. They want to get their feelings, their anger, they want to be listened to. I think we should listen. Stop trying to prove points. All I can tell you, I've gotten 15 text messages and DMs, direct messages, for those of you guys don't know what that is, and tweets at me saying, well, you were talking earlier about Colin Kaepernick and you're and I just laugh, right? And let me tell you what it is, because everybody wants to be right. Because that's their experience. They want to be right. And at the end of the day, it's not about being rich, meaning it's not about learning something, getting something, gaining something. It's about I win because this is my point of view. And my point of view is what matters to me because I identify as such. A conservative, a progressive, whatever it is. And so I have to win. And there's nothing wrong with winning. But there's other ways of winning. Well, how's there other ways of winning? When I say, would you rather be right or would you rather be rich? Meaning, too often than not, our want to win in argument, like, well, look at the data. It doesn't support what the people are protesting. And here's the thing. Listen to what people have to say. Process it. That's all I'm asking, right? Process it. Take it in. Be open-minded. And understand it's about people's experiences. And those experiences, when you start to take them in, you start to grow and learn more. That's a win right there. You're becoming richer for that time and the things that you're learning about. But because we identify with this, like it's like the police are always right or they're always wrong. There's no in between. Well, that's not true. They're bad cops. There are good cops. And then there's most trying to do their job. There are bad people. There are good people. And then there's just most people just going about their lives. There are people that are extraordinary and people who are very ordinary. It's amazing the way that we fight over every little thing. And politics, yesterday Mattis came out and, he was so pissed. And, of course, this is what I find to be so funny. So, if you guys don't know, he's got an article, I think it's in The Atlantic, talking about Trump, talking about essentially how divisive Trump is.
This is a man who did not want to directly attack President Trump. He wanted to stay out of politics, which makes this even more remarkable. He told me enough is enough. He said, Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people.
Is that true? Well, the perception is that all presidents try to unite. I think there's a want. Right? Because I want everybody to see my point of view and agree with it. Because that way I can get reelected. Doesn't matter what politician it is. The reality at the end of the day is there's a good majority of people that did not vote for you. And no matter what you do, they're never going to. The one thing Trump has done, and he's not a uniter. He's a lightning rod. And he's okay with that. The honesty I get from him is, you guys are never going to like me. I'm not here to placate you. This is what it is. This is my base. I'll serve them. Even if I tried to do something that you might agree with, you're going to hate me anyways. So why should I pretend? No, he's not a uniter. His uniting fails when he should be trying to calm nerves, be a voice of reason in a time when we see awful things happening. But we've turned COVID-19 into a political, do you wear a mask? Don't you wear a mask? Depends on who you voted for. Right? Of course, Mattis is an awful human being now. People yesterday were defending, oh, this guy's the worst ever. He's just, they should strip him of all of his ranks. They should do this, that. And I'm just sitting there laughing. I'm like, 6 months ago, you were like, that's Mad Dog Mattis. Now he's awful. Now he's a bad dude. No, I think a lot of what he said about Trump is no. But he's not a uniter. I will get that. But I can also make an argument that at least Trump's honest about the fact that he's not trying to unite. Did Obama say things? Like have you ever noticed, and stop me if I'm wrong, Producer Phil, every politician, when they give their speech of winning, okay, now the fighting's over, it's time for us to come together. And for those of you who didn't vote for me, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure you understand that I'm here for you.
Perfect speech.
But you don't care because you didn't vote for that person. And so by default, you're pissed. And no matter what that person does, you could care less. All Trump is saying is, I don't really care. You guys hate me. You're never going to like me. And I don't care. No, Trump doesn't. Trump's opportunities to bring the country together are situations that shouldn't be political, but they become political by default. And that's a frustrating thing. Whether it's COVID-19 or whether it's what's going on now with the protest and what's happened in some of the days, in some of the places, in the way that he's handled things, where you would think this shouldn't be political. We should be trying to heal and talk about certain things. But that's just not him. That's not his style. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at us, text the program as well. Another 1.9 million Americans filed for unemployment, bringing the total up to 43 million since this pandemic started. And not quite sure where we go from here because COVID-19 is still out there, and I'm going to be shocked if there isn't a spike because of the protest. You've got hundreds of thousands of people across the country who are out and they're protesting. And while some of them are wearing masks, some of them are not. And just because you wear a mask, it's not 100% that it's going to stop. I mean, so if there's a massive spike in this, what happens? Are we going to get a second shutdown? 1.9 million. Tomorrow, the big jobs report comes out. Take a look at May and see, what it looks like. But I think it's going to be ugly. It's going to be really ugly. 323-538-2423. Rough greens. I get more people texting me, tweeting at me saying, what's that stuff? I said, it's rough greens. Okay, so what do you do? I said, so you've got dog food, right? So your dog goes, and what do you feed? Well, I feed him dry food. Okay, dry food. So that stuff's supposed to live on a shelf for God knows how long. Years? Nothing in there's living. So with rough greens, you sprinkle it on top. Well, what was wrong with my dog? So I talked to you guys about my dog, Doodle. Doodle has a bunch of fatty tumors on his hips. And he's older than we thought. And so it was like to the point where if you get anywhere near his hips, he growls. So Rough Green says, try this. We did. It's got everything that he needs to bring the living to that dog food that's not living. And it has changed everything. Digestive enzymes, all natural vitamins, omega-3 oil, 6, 9. It's just awesome. The transformation in about 7 days, you could start to see it. In 10 days, it's a new doodle. And it's great. So if you love your dog, it's a 14-day jumpstart. And here's the thing. It's $14.95. $14.95. Come on. Give your dog a new lease on life. Rough Greens can reduce or completely eliminate your dog's pain and symptoms. Try it. $14.95. It's a jumpstart. Best thing you're ever going to do for your friend. Best thing I've ever done for my little furry buddy, Doodle. Go to roughgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog88. That's ruffgreens.com/Chad or call 833-MyDog88. Rough Greens, we make any pet food better. Chad Benson Show.
Check out our Chad Benson Show Facebook page where you can hang out or hang your grievances out to dry. This is Chad Benson.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1, 0, ignition, liftoff.
Now it's time to find out what's trending. What's trending? Yeah, what does that mean? I mean something, right? Like it's trending on the old internet. What's trending? All right, let's take a look and see what's trending. Lots of stuff. Thao? Is that how you say his name? Thao? One of the officers who was charged, he's trending for a lot of reasons. We'll touch on those in a little bit, but he is also somebody who it's very interesting, his story about who he is and how Asian Americans are looking at this. Particularly the Hmong community. And that's it's an interesting conversation that's going on out there. Madeleine McCann. Now, if you guys don't remember her, young little British girl who disappeared about a decade ago. Actually, 13 years ago. Her family was on holiday during the holiday season, Christmas time. And she disappeared in Portugal in an apartment. Now they have thinking they broke the case, and that it may be a German sex offender who is currently in jail that could be responsible. Candace Owens, of course, doing what Candace Owens done, stirring the pot, talking about George Floyd as a martyr. Obama and Boogaloo. Producer Phil, do you know what a Boogaloo is?
I know what an electric Boogaloo is.
I know what an electric Boogaloo is, too. And I also know, I'm like, is this like the Bugaloos? No. They were on Sid and Marty Krofft. A Boogaloo is a new kind of anti-government. It's weird because CNN, I was reading an article, it depends on where you go and what you look at, but the movement is very anti-government. And in some cases, you have people like they'll say it's white supremacy, but in other parts of it, it's just anti-government, and it doesn't matter if you're Antifa or whatever. It's a movement to tear down a system in some way, shape, or form. But that's really like people are trying to figure out because they're all over the place. The Boogaloo movement. I was like, oh, and at first I'm like, isn't that the insane clown posse? But that's not them. What are they called?
Juggaloos.
The insane Juggaloos. My bad. See, just too many things out there. Too much stuff. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
We're just watching television behind us. I was turning around, and I said, producer Phil, who's also watching CNN, and I said, "Hey, Phil, who's the WWE sheriff?" Like if there was going to be WWE town, Chris Swanson, the Genovese sheriff in Wisconsin? That's the guy. He's beautiful, and he's got this, it's like part Howie Long, part WWE wrestler look, and he's the sheriff, and, they're trying to have a conversation with him, and the lady interview him on it, she looked a little like, oh, he's giant hands, and he's the sheriff that started walking with the protesters, the first one to do it. And then I'm like, let's go to his Facebook. And I tell Phil, he's a 4-time finisher of the Ironman. And Phil's all, well, of course he is. He's just, he looked like, and then, so I was saying all this. And then I went to the bathroom, came back, and another person entered the studio, and he looks on the screen, and I can hear him say, who's the WWE guy that's a sheriff? And I'm like, see? You could smile, folks. It's okay. He had perfect veneers, too. Those aren't cheap, people. He didn't get the cheap ones. He got real ones. You don't get a smile like that without a little work. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. They've filed more charges against the officers, including the 3 officers that were also on the call with Derek Chauvin. Chauvin was bumped from third degree to second degree, and the other officers were finally charged and are in custody.
Hennepin County Attorney Michael Freeman and I filed a complaint that charges police officer King, Lane, and Tao with aiding and abetting murder in the second degree, a felony offense.
And one of the reasons they did that was strategic, because if you're going to charge them, you have to bump up his charges so you can then charge him, because in the third degree and manslaughter, they could not charge these 3 officers in aiding and abetting without the charge being bumped to second degree felony murder. So we'll see. This is what people were hoping would happen, but it's a long process. And here's something else. Over the next coming weeks and months, and this is going to take a while for it ever sees trial, before it ever sees a trial. Think about this. I'm asking every one of you out there. You're in Minnesota, right? You're in the Minneapolis area. You get a summon in the mail. And the next thing you know, you're in that group pool of people that may be picked to be on the jury. Do you want any part of that? If you're being honest, remember, you're supposed to come in at this with a open mind. I'm going to hear all of the facts. You've got some conflicting autopsy reports, and you'll hear over the coming days as well that there was fentanyl in his system, some methamphetamines in his system. You're going to hear that he also, by the way, I don't know if you guys saw this, he also tested positive for COVID. So, and that he died of essentially his heart stopping. And the debate will be, was it specifically because of the knee on the neck? Was that the number one cause of it? Did any of these other things have a place in this? What I'm trying to say is, if you're a juror, and I wouldn't want any part of this. I wouldn't. Remember the Rodney King riots were based on the trial, not the footage of Rodney King being beaten. That was based on the outcome of the trial. And I can almost guarantee you, here's something else. There are people marching in Minneapolis and St. Paul and all over the country. Some of them will be getting a jury summons in the coming months, and they may be. How do you find an impartial jury that has not made up their mind in some way, shape, or form or heard every bit of evidence? Because here's the other side of it. If you don't know what's going on, I'm not sure I want you on a jury. Oh, yeah. Like, sorry, I don't read or have a TV. I haven't been outside in forever. COVID, what? I'm not sure that that's who you want. But you also want to find people that haven't made up their mind, which is going to be virtually impossible. And moving it is almost going to be impossible as well. See, in the Rodney King case, we didn't have social media. It wasn't 24/7. It wasn't on top of us. And they were successful in moving it from Los Angeles to Simi Valley. And once that happened, hey, we're going to get people that we hope have no opinion. We're going to get people we hope have, and they were successful in doing that. And that played a big, big role. So I wouldn't want to be a jury. I'll tell you that right now. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You tweet at us. You can text the program as well. All of this going on. George Floyd, his memorial today, of course, and you've got all of this stuff that's happening. You've got protests that are going on that are peaceful. People are starting, I think, to start thinking about what kind of the next step is in the conversations we need to have. We shouldn't forget the coronavirus is still out there, and people are being affected in ways that I think over the last 10 days or so, we've kind of forgot about. Tons of unemployment.
1.9 million people applied for jobless benefits last week, fewer than in prior weeks, but still astonishingly high as the pandemic's grip on the U.S. economy refuses to loosen despite reopenings in every state. The number of weekly jobless claims fell below 2 million for the first time since March, a sign the worst may be over for the labor market, but also a signal employers aren't sure how quickly business will bounce back.
Yeah. And I don't know if people are sure anymore that with all the unrest and people starting to get themselves and climb out of their brumination and hibernation that was forced upon them because of the coronavirus, that now we're starting to see, as we start to reopen, we've got hundreds of thousands of people that are on the street. Is that a potential of seeing a massive spike? Well, if you're worried about reopening and social distancing and trying to do it one way, and then you have 50,000 people that are crammed into a certain area over several hour period of time, we'd be foolish not to think, if you were worried about whether or not you can have 20 people in a restaurant or 40 people because of a spike, and you expect some sort of spike, it'd be foolish not to think that you're going to see a spike here. So what happens? And these protests aren't over. They're going to continue to go on.
There are signs of hope in the former epicenter of the outbreak, New York, where new COVID hospitalizations dropped to a new low. Still a warning from Governor Andrew Cuomo.
If you're going to protest, protest intelligently. Remember, the COVID virus is still out there.
The nation's top infectious disease expert, Dr. Anthony Fauci, saying the idea of keeping schools closed in the fall may not be necessary.
Yeah, which is good, which is very good about schools, because that also helps parents who would be in a situation where they could be like, what am I going to do? But that's not gone anywhere. It's still, the coronavirus is here still. We don't have a therapeutic for it. We don't have a vaccine for it. The data still points that it's not as deadly as once thought, but there's still certain risk factors that we have to be absolutely aware of. And I think we're at the point now, and I spoke to Dr. Carmona, who was the former Surgeon General, the other day. And I said, doctor, are we going to look back and say that maybe we overreact? And he says, that's a fair possibility, that we should have been a little bit more wary and that maybe we could have done things a little bit different, because it's easy to play armchair quarterback. And I said, this thing is probably going to be endemic instead of pandemic or an epidemic. Remember, epidemic is geographically in nature. Pandemic is global. And endemic means it's just here. And I said, would this be fair to say that if we didn't have a vaccine for the flu and therapeutics, that the flu may be far deadlier? And he goes, oh, yeah, absolutely. I mean, the reason the flu's not as deadly is because we have treatments for it. This is novel. We're still learning. 2-3 weeks ago, that's all anybody was talking about. CNN had a 24/7 counter, nonstop, of COVID cases and deaths, and that's now disappeared because this is the story. George Floyd's death and the subsequent arrest of the officers, and that is a hell of a story as far as what we should be talking about. But let's not forget that the COVID is still here, and the effects of 43 million Americans losing their jobs since the beginning of this pandemic, and the fact that the economy, the trade deficits through the roof, our GDP's crashing, and we're headed towards a Great Depression that may last upwards of 5 to 10 years, can't be forgotten. So what's this look like if there's a second massive spike? And yesterday, I think, was 20,000 new cases. Now, I look at the new cases like this. What's the percentage? Because we are testing far more than we ever have. So what's the percentage? So if the percentage is still relatively low, but we're testing far more, then you look and say, all right, well, here's the thing. We're testing far more, so just by default, we're going to have more positive tests. But it's not gone anywhere, and it's still here, and it's still affecting us and our economy. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Raycon. I say, well, I don't know what I'm looking at. Raycon. Earbuds. I love my Raycons. I have my Raycons. I wear them when I go out and work out. I work out a lot. I try to work out at least 3 to 4 days a week where I'm playing soccer. And I take my phone out there, and the minute I turn them on, they seamless Bluetooth, snap them in. And what I like is I don't ever have to worry about them falling out. They snap in just to your ears so perfectly. They're snug in there. There's no stems or wires. There's nothing bouncing around, hitting me in the face. And I go play my soccer, and I work out pretty hard. I work out really, really hard. And I love it. And I love Raycons and what they do and the nice noise isolating fit. So if you're at home and you're trying to do a video conference call, or you got an important call to one of your clients or whatever, and the kids are home right now and they're loud and you want to be able to hear, and you're trying to go from room to room or this, that, and the other, guess what? You don't have to worry about that. Nice noise isolating fit will handle that so easily. And normally you'd spend $150, $200. I've looked. I've had pairs that cost that much, and they're nowhere near as good as this at well under $100 for these. Get your E25s right now from Raycons. Go to buyraycon.com/Chad. When you do, you're going to save 15% on top of the huge savings already. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Buyraycon.com/Chad. Chad Benson Show.
Being antisocial sucks. Hang with Chad's friends on Facebook, The Chad Benson Show. And if you just need some alone time, head on over to Twitter at Chad Benson Show. Either way, we can't wait to meet the real you.
These are two grown men, and here's the perfect example of everybody trying to be right. Gotta be right. Period. Case closed. Reality TV. Eyeballs to watch. Piers Morgan, Rudy Giuliani.
The interview is over as far as I'm concerned.
You sound completely barking mad. Do you know that?
No, I don't.
You've lost the plot.
Like a big
You've
liar.
lost the plot, and it's sad to see.
You're the one who got thrown off of television here.
Yeah.
Because you had ratings that were about 2.
Yeah.
So don't tell me I've lost anything.
You keep going, Rudy.
I know what happened to your show, Piers.
Yeah.
And I remember the mistakes you made.
Yeah, well, I remember.
So don't give me that stuff. I know who you are.
Right. So now, and you're a jerk, and you stupid, and I think you're a failure, and you're a weenie, and sticks and stones. It's not over.
And you are helping to create violence in this country with the way you're covering this.
When I used to interview you, you were an intelligent, reasonable man, and you've gone completely mad, and you sound deranged.
You're saying that because I don't
it's really
narrative.
sad to see what's happened to you.
It was really sad to see the way your career imploded in the United States, Pierce.
Yeah.
If you think I have any respect for you after this, well, maybe you don't care.
Well,
but everyone in America knows you're a failed journalist.
There it is. I couldn't even tell you. Producer Phil, you heard that. What were they talking about? Nobody knows. Silence is perfect. I couldn't. Now, granted, we're only catching a part of it. But they're probably talking about what took place. The riots, as well as the death of George Floyd. I'm assuming could be about coronavirus, for all I know. The lockdown. I don't know. Could be about Trump. I don't know. But it was, and producer Anthony says, it was close to being na-na-na-na-na-na. Na-na-na-na-na. Ha-ha. That's the argument there, though. And that's the way, and I think in reality, in life, that's what people are doing on the interwebs when they fight with each other, when they troll each other, is that. Well, you're a jerk. No, you're a jerk. And you're a jerk. And you're a jerk. And you're a... I don't think it advances anything other than laughter. That's the state of the world we're in now. 323-538-2423. At Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. The NBA, could it be getting closer to coming back?
In this resumption of the season, 8 regular season games for each team. And what'll be interesting is how they formulate those 8 games for teams. They're going to essentially take a shell of the team's remaining schedule, the next 8 games that they had before the season was shut down, and try to replicate that the best they can with the 22 teams who are there. And then if there are teams left for them to play that aren't among the 22, they'll build that off of who is there and the strength of schedule.
Yeah, so they don't want somebody to go, well, their next 8 games are going to be against teams that are awful, and this team's next 8 games are against teams that are great. They just want to try to balance it out, and they'll have the teams. And, they're trying to come back. They are. Everybody's trying to make a step back, except for baseball. Because baseball, they're not. They're not interested. They're interested, and we want all of our money. And Major League Baseball, they've got the players over a barrel right now. And if the players say, well, we don't want to do any of this, then I think not only is that a bad look, baseball's already got enough issues. This is not a helper. 323-538-2423, Chad Benson Show.
This is the Chad Benson Show. Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
Well, I will never agree with anybody disrespecting the flag of the United States of America or our country. Let me just tell you what I see or what I feel when the national anthem is played and when I look at the flag of the United States. I envision my 2 grandfathers who fought for this country during World War II, one in the Army and one in the Marine Corps, both risking their lives to protect our country and to try to make our country and this world a better place.
Drew Brees, yesterday, Yahoo Finance, all that's going on in the country, death of George Floyd, the protests in certain places, the rioting and looting, and over the last 72 hours, peaceful, calm protest, but definitely something I cannot remember anything like what we're witnessing In this 2020, just across the board, but anything like what we're witnessing now. Officers charged, talk of race, racism, systematic. And then Yahoo Finance, he does a Skype call. Somebody asks him about the flag, and he says that he'll never agree with anyone who disrespects the American flag. Two different questions here. Question he was answering had to do with the flag and the kneeling for the flag, but it came back, as it does, to Colin Kaepernick and his talk of, was he right when he took the knee because of his anger and what he cites as police brutality?
Yes, I'll continue to sit. To me, this is something that has to change. And when there's significant change, and I feel like that flag represents what it's supposed to represent, and this country is representing people the way that it's supposed to, I'll stand.
What would you like to see change?
There's a lot of things that need to change. One specifically is police brutality. There's people being murdered unjustly and not being held accountable. That's not right. That's not right by anyone's standards.
No, it's not right. I think we can all agree with that. I have yet to meet somebody who's like, well, I think what happened in Minnesota was good. No, everybody, to a person, even the most staunch defenders of police at all cost, have all said that is beyond vile. What took place there was so wrong. It became about Kaepernick when it became about the flag and the question that Drew Brees answered. And he was answering two separate things. What's the flag mean to him? And he said that. It means this. This is what it means. It means this. My grandfathers fought for that flag. To me, it means this. For other people who have never been in Drew Brees' shoes, and for Drew Brees who have never been in other players and people's shoes, the flag means something else. Malcolm Jenkins, so many players, former, past, and present, are pissed.
You have not stepped up to the plate, Drew. To stay silent when your peers are screaming from the mountaintops that we need help. Our communities are under siege and we need help. And what you're telling us is, don't ask for help that way. Ask for a different way. I can't listen to it when you ask that way. We're done asking, Drew. And people who share your sentiments and push them throughout the world, the airways, are the problem.
People are pissed. He wasn't finished.
And it's unfortunate because I considered you a friend. I looked up to you. You're somebody who I had a great deal of respect for. But sometimes you should shut the up.
Wow. Drew Brees has come out and apologized on his Instagram this morning. He apologized, and I think it was a very real and sincere apology. I think it was very contrite. I don't think he understood. He said, I'd like to apologize to my friends, teammates, the city of New Orleans, the black community, NFL community, anyone I hurt with my comments yesterday. In speaking with some of you, it breaks my heart to know the pain I have caused. In an attempt to talk about respect, unity, and solidarity centered around the American flag and the national anthem, I made comments that were insensitive and completely missed the mark on the issues we're facing right now as a country. They lacked awareness and any type of compassion and empathy. Instead, those words have become divisive and hurtful and have misled people into believing that somehow I am the enemy. Continues from there. I don't think he's the enemy. People have attacked him. You're a sellout. It's because everybody has to be right. No, they've got a hold of you now. And he didn't read the room. That's just it. He's the wedding DJ that walks in to a wedding of an older couple who's getting married in their golden years. And the first song that he plays, right? First song is, Shook Me All Night Long. He didn't read the room. It was, based on the timing, insensitive. He answered a question that he should have steered back and said, look, I don't want to talk about that. I want to talk about our country and how we get it back. But that's hindsight, right? Yesterday, Seattle Seahawks, their quarterback, they wanted, Russell Wilson. You guys know who Russell Wilson is? He's just a great, he's like one of those things where you're like, man, I want my kid to grow up like that. Like that guy gets it. Reacted. They were supposed to talk about balls. He doesn't want to talk about football, right? He doesn't want to talk about football. He wants to talk about other things.
This is a super emotional time, I think, for a lot of people. I know for me and my heart hurts. Like I said in my, my letter to you guys and to everybody is my heart hurts because I see my kids, I see a man get murdered on the street. And it's pretty heavy, it's pretty heavy to watch somebody get murdered like that.
Yeah, it is. It is pretty heavy. It's pretty heavy watching somebody get murdered and watching somebody die on the street and watching the people that are paid to protect and serve in that moment do anything but protect and serve.
I think there has to be radical changes to our system. I think leaders have to step up. African American, but in particular, our white leaders too as well, and to be able to speak out and speak up, and our companies and everything else to be able to make a true difference. I think in the police force, people there needs to be a change. I think that not every police officer is bad by any means, but the reality is that I think that there needs to be a process of how the background checks and checking on these people and constantly, not just the first time they get hired, but also throughout the whole process.
Yeah, of course. Ongoing training. And then they got to the point where they talked about Kaepernick. Here's my stance on Kaepernick. Every right to protest. His voice is much louder than the guy down the street at, as I've always said, the Piggly Wiggly, the Krogers, the Vons, the Ralphs, the Foods for Less, the wherever you are in the country. That guy or gal doesn't have the voice that he does. But I also respect the fact that the NFL is a business, and business owners may look at certain situations and say, look, this is how we do things. We're trying to stay apolitical here because we want to serve all fan bases. And I understand that. And their owners in sports have also at times become more and more tone deaf in some of their saying. I've always said, I like, for me, like, would you hire Colin Kaepernick? I would have had no problem. I wouldn't have. Drew Brees' grandfathers fought for the right to people to protest. And is he better, Colin Kaepernick, than what I have on my roster? Does he give me a better chance to win? Whether he's a starting quarterback or if he ends up being a backup quarterback, would he give me a better chance to win? And is he going to be good for the locker room? Because I don't care how good you are, right? Eventually, you're still wear out your welcome if it's all drama with you. You'll get another chance. But if it becomes to the point where the drama's so big that it destroys everything else, then no. I mean, I don't care who it is. I don't care what you're protesting or not protesting. But they asked him about Kaepernick.
I think that with Colin in particular, he was, trying to symbolize the right thing. And people may have taken that the wrong way, but I think that he was trying to do the right thing, the bottom line. And, he's stood up so many, amazing ways to, really, stand up for, Black lives and what's going on and the oppression of what's going on and people getting murdered and everything else. And I think that it's the right thing that he's been trying to do.
Yeah. And in doing so, he's built, yeah, I don't even know if he misses the game. That's the other thing. I mean, that would be one of the questions I would have asked. Like, people say, well, what would you ask him? I say, first thing was, do you love football? Do you love the game? Like, is the only reason you want to play so you can make your platform bigger, and regardless if you win or lose, because I've got 52 other guys that want to win, and while they want to use their platform, they also realize they want to win. Are you committed to it? Or are you going to be missing practice because you have to go do certain things and miss it? And I think that's a fair, like, that'd be anybody, right? If I'm going to pay you X amount of dollars, I expect the job to be done. But this has become one of those things now where it's canceled Drew Brees, and an apology won't be enough, and players and teammates are pissed. And the NFL, this is the time for them to figure out where they're going to go and what they're going to do. We're at a different time in the world now. And it'll be interesting. I think it's interesting. Change is good. It's uncomfortable. It's not always the best at first, but conversations are good to have. Change is good to have. And conversations that can lead to some real solutions. Again, the world is full of human beings. I don't know if you guys know this. And nothing will ever be perfect. So if you're looking for the utopia of everything's perfect, you're never going to find it unless there is no humans. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show, your Twitter. CarShield. Somebody said to me yesterday, do you know about CarShield? I'm like, yeah. You know, that they've had some, are you sure they're good, or they're playing, and I'm like, look, I've had friends who've bought CarShield and said, and I had no idea. And they're like, dude, it was great, right? It was awesome. Try it. If you've got a car that's got some miles on it, or maybe you've got some stuff in there you're worried about, like the electronic side of it, CarShield has a plan for you. It's $99 a month. That's what it starts at. But you can tailor-make the plan however you want it, for whatever it is you're looking for to protect your car. Maybe it's the electronics. Maybe it's the transmission. You call 800-CAR-6000. Use code Benson. You save you 10% right there. And explain to them, I'm looking for this. This is what I want to protect on my car. What can you do for me? And they'll give you that plan. With that, you get 24/7 roadside assistance, a rental car for free while your car's in the shop. And the shop was a shop that you choose. They get them paid directly, and it's that simple, right? It's that simple. Find out today how easy it is. Protect yourself in the eventuality that something may go wrong. 800-CAR-6000, code Benson. Saves you 10% at carshield.com, carshield.com. Code Benson saves you 10%. A deductible may apply. Chad Benson Show.
One of these boys, give me a bowl of chili with plenty of peppers. One Mexican heartburn. Why don't you mugs grow up?
The Chad Benson Show, where independent, a la carte thinkers have a seat at the table and a voice in the dialogue.
I'll have what she's having.
This is Chad Benson.
This is a man who did not want to directly attack President Trump. He wanted to stay out of politics, which makes this even more remarkable. He told me enough is enough. He said, Donald Trump is the first president in my lifetime who does not try to unite the American people.
Mad Dog Mattis article, really just going after Trump. Well, it was a fair article. I did. I don't think Trump cares whether or not people are united. I don't think he gives a rat's. I think he thinks half the people in the country can't stand him. And there you go. You can't stand him. You have a visceral disdain for him as a human being. And a good portion of the country loves him and couldn't stand Obama and had a visceral disdain for Obama and his politics. The difference is Obama and the way that he, did what every politician does after they win an election. Talks about trying to heal, talks about trying to bring the country together, talks about trying to govern for everybody. But then the politics and the action say, no, I'm only governing for the people who voted for me. But I did say that I want everybody to be pals. Where Trump is saying, these are my actions. I said I was going to do this stuff. I'm doing it. And I don't really give a rat's ass if you don't like me because you didn't vote for me. At least he's honest. Like, you know where he stands. But he's right. He is right. But even if you are a leader, and where Trump, should be trying to heal, which is that's not his strong point, right? Trump is, you don't bring Trump in to try to put a bandage on it. Trump is Hulk smash, right? He's not nurse, he's not nurse and doctor. He's Hulk smash. Different thing. Trump could be better with things like what's going on now. Should be better. Now, in saying that, he could come out and deliver as good a speech as Trump could ever deliver. It will never be enough. That's also partly on us because we will never accept the other side, whatever aisle you're on, and what they say, or take it to heart. So part of that is we make up our mind, this is how we feel, and nothing you are going to do, no matter how sincere you think you are, is going to change our mind if you're a politician. I thought it was a fair article. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. It's your Twitter. You tweet at us. Text the program as well. Chad Benson Show.
The Chad Benson Show.
Independent thoughts, independent life. This is Chad Benson.
What people have been calling for and what people have continued to say is that they wanted those officers charged, and today they finally got that. Officer Chauvin, that charge was upped from third-degree murder to second-degree murder. That's what people are calling for from the family, and they say that a lot of it had to do with what you're seeing here, that their advocacy, that their protesting led to that movement and let the wheels of justice start to turn.
Yeah, they upped the charges. They upped his charges. Chauvin, who is the officer or former officer whose knee was on the neck of George Floyd, they upped his charges at second degree. And for one of the reasons may be in doing so, they can now charge the other officers with aiding and abetting. Because if you kept it at third degree in manslaughter, they couldn't be charged with a majority of the stuff. So they may have been able to essentially get away with it. So they had to do something. And by bumping it up to second degree, you still keep the third degree and you still keep the manslaughter. And the reason is aim big, hit big, aim small, miss small. So when you go to a jury and then you eventually get the instructions to the jury, the narrower it is, the harder it is to prove guilt. If you give them a wide range to choose from, they may say, this wasn't second degree murder, but it was third degree murder. Or they might not have said this wasn't either of those, but it was definitely manslaughter. But you give them something where it's only second degree murder. If that's all it is, and they say, well, it didn't mean it. They did something wrong, but it didn't rise to that. Well, you've taken away some of the ammunition. And now what? That's the question. That's the quadrillion-dollar question. It's like, where do we go from here? Now what? What's the next step? What's the next step in starting to make changes?
There's a pathway forward. Justice in this case, which means all four officers have to be arrested, charged, convicted, and jailed. That's justice. That's one leg. The other leg, while everybody is completely aware that there's a big problem in law enforcement, let's get together, Republicans, Democrats, law enforcement, community, civil rights, and pass a bipartisan bill this year. It could be done this year. You could ban the chokehold this year.
Ban Jones. Now, and Look, do I think there's a wide swath of problems in law enforcement? I think the system could use some revamping, some more modernizing. I think that's a fair thing to say. But to say that all officers or the system is all broken and bad, I don't think that's right. But there's definitely opportunity now to make real changes and to have real conversation. And that's going to come later on. Right now, the protests, things that are going on, that is about listening to people, listening to their pain, listening to their anger, listening to their fears, processing it, not trying to find an immediate solution at this moment in time where you want to have a discussion with an individual because you want to, show, oh, what your feeling's not right. Don't try to take away people's feelings. That never is a good thing. Allow people to vent, to have their say, to express their emotions. It's like a relationship. Anybody who's ever been married or in a long-term relationship, sometimes the best thing you can do is just listen. It's not about the solution. It's not even about an apology. It's just listen. And even in situations where your wife or husband, they're angry about something that you may not even, it may have nothing to do with it. It could be work. It could be any of these things. Their kids driving them crazy. They just want somebody to listen. And I think that's something that needs to be understood, because it's not. Because what I see in the battles of the interwebs and social media is everybody's trying to prove a point about, well, the data doesn't say this or the data doesn't say that, and facts matter, and let's point these. And what I try to explain to people is people just want to be heard. They want people to hear what they're saying and listen to what they're saying and take it in. And then later on, when we start to look at solutions, we can start to break those things down. This isn't that. You're not going to get anywhere in a situation that we're going through right now in our country with the emotions being as high as they are if you're going to do what? Want to try to fix something immediately. Want to combat with this, that, and the other. No, just listen.
Now you're on a pathway back toward wholeness and toward healing. And you have 20, 30, 40, probably 50 million white Americans that would agree with everything I just said and be happy to see it in both parties. And you have people who always know that racism was a big issue, but it was number 17 on their list. Bipartisan legislation and economic relief to these communities, and you can turn a breakdown into a breakthrough.
And I think that's real, right? I don't agree with a lot of what Van Jones says, mostly because he's into sensation. Look, the media, especially the CNNs, MSNBC, and Fox, they're into sensationalism because it's what grabs the eyeballs, right? We have a reality show president, and we're a reality show that is 24/7, and we're watching it unfold in front of our eyes. But lasting change is going to come through time, through opportunity, through listening to one another, and through individuals. Through individuals. You and I talking, discussing, listening to one another, and moving forward. But it's not going to be easy. It isn't. And doesn't matter if you're black or white, gay or straight, Hispanic, Asian, tall. We live in an instantaneous world, and we do want easy, right? We'd all love to snap our fingers, right? And go, man, I could surely lose 30 pounds. Is there some sort of magical pill I could take where tomorrow I've lost that? No, this is going to take work. It's going to take effort. It's going to take acknowledging there's an issue and then getting to that point. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show is your Twitter. Tweet at me, text the program as well. Guess what? Jobs, or loss of.
1.9 million people applied for jobless benefits last week, fewer than in prior weeks, but still astonishingly high as the pandemic's grip on the U.S. economy refuses to loosen despite reopenings in every state. The number of weekly jobless claims fell below 2 million for the first time since March, a sign the worst may be over for the labor market, but also a signal employers aren't sure how quickly business will bounce back.
I don't know either. And with all of the stuff that we're talking about, with the protest, and we've also taken our eye off the fact that COVID-19 is not gone anywhere. Another 20,000 positive tests yesterday. And while, as we start to learn more about this, that maybe it is not as deadly, we know the categories and the people that are at most risk for becoming extremely ill and potentially losing their lives, and some have lost their lives. We still have the climbing back out of our hibernation or broom nation and looking around going, okay, we got to get back to work. And now it's, where do we stand? There's going to be a spike. You've got who knows how many thousands of people. So definitely over the last 7-8 days, you probably had, 1 million or 2 million people that have gone out, some brand new every day, some continuously out there, but there's going to be a spike. And what do the states do? How do they handle that? Like, that's a very fair question, because for the last, 90 days, you've told everybody you can't assemble, you can't go anywhere, you can't go to the beach, can't go to the movies, can't do this. Now this is happening, and I understand why it's happening. And it's the beauty, I've always said, we should be able to make our own choices. But there's going to be a spike. And how does that affect New York's getting ready to reopen? California had another record day yesterday of people. We're 2 weeks removed from Memorial Day. Are we going to start to see spikes? And then we're going to get spikes in another 2 weeks. And then as we start to reopen, we already expected some spikes. Is this going to cause us to go, oh, we got to go back in? And how's that going to affect the economy? They're talking in the CBO, right, said this is going to cost us about $8 trillion over 10 years and of lost GDP. And during that time, we're going to see steady unemployment hovering between about 8 and 12%. Now, do I believe that? I don't know. A lot of people have models, and they always seem to be crap. But somewhere in the truth between, we're going to flip the light switch on, and this will take 5 to 10 years to get ourselves back into a position of where we were pre-coronavirus, is the truth. I've said 18 to 24 months before we go, oh, yeah, okay. Now, that can all change if we found a magical vaccine tomorrow or therapeutic treatment that mitigates anything that happens. But this is not a simple thing. And with the protests that are going on, and God bless those protesters, getting out there, having their voices heard, doing what is the most American thing, we still do have the coronavirus. And that will become an issue in 2 weeks or 3 weeks if there's a massive spike and all of a sudden we're being told, no, everybody, we got to shut it down again. 323-538-2423 at Chad Benson Show. Your Twitter. You can tweet at us. You can text the program as well. Do love hearing from every single one of you. Love and hate. People they ask me, do you say love and hate? Do you really mean that? No, this is what I mean. I love to hear from you. And we can totally differ, but when you start out with you're the worst human being, blank you, blankety blank, 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 then you're not interested in a conversation. You just want to be a jerk. And I'm like, oh, okay. That's it. We can differ, and I'm totally cool differing. We should differ. We shouldn't agree on everything. Because there's perspective that I will never have because of who you are. And there's a perspective that you will never have because of who I am. And our lives have gone differently. And But when you insult because you feel the need to, then you're not interested in a conversation. You just want to be right and you want to be rude. 323-538-2423. Gabby Insurance. So Gabby it's not insurance. What it is, they are a checker. It's the best way to describe it. They're a comparer. They're a comparison tool. So you go to Gabby.com, and if you're looking to save money, and a lot of people are looking, I can save some money here, save some money there. They're going to give you, within 2 minutes, apples-to-apples comparisons on your homeowners and car insurance. Okay? So you'll be able to see quotes for the exact same coverage you currently have with companies like Progressive, Nationwide, Travelers. You just plug it in. 2 minutes later, they spit it out. For me, my homeowners insurance, exact same coverage, perfect. Car insurance, eye-opening, saved well over $1,000. Gabby customers save an average of $825 a year. It's beautiful because it's free. They're never going to sell your info, so no annoying spam or robocalls, any of that stuff. Take action today. It takes 2 minutes. See how much you can save with Gabby on your car and homeowners insurance. Go to Gabby.com/Benson. Gabi.com/Benson. Gabby.com/Benson. Wait till you hear this news reporter and cheesecake. Chad Benson Show.
Warning, no snowflake zone. Uninformed opinions are in danger of melting. The Chad Benson Show.
And they tell me I'm like 9 holes into the golf, and they tell me numerous Democrat cities are like in flames and having nasty protests. So I played 2 more holes, but I didn't do the full 18, okay, because I said I got to get to something. And I get back to the office behind the Resolute desk, okay, very strong piece of furniture. I get back there, and, they're telling me that lots of people, Antifa is attacking, we know that. Queen Latifah also possibly on the list of people doing some of this nasty stuff.
J.L. Colvin there. The guy who, by the way, a lot of people are like, he's hilarious, and he's not a Trump supporter. In fact, he hates Trump with a passion, wants him gone. It's weird because you may hate him and want him gone, but he is your career. So him gone and fading in the spotlight, it's when Bush left. You see what I'm saying? It's not the same. But he did go on to talk about some other stuff, including the Cheesecake Factory.
And they tell me that the Cheesecake Factory has been looted. Mike, you love the cheesecake. You're one of the biggest fans. The Cheesecake Factory is one of our great industries. It combines so many great American things. Factory, our great factory workers, who, by the way, they love Trump, you know that. But also cheese, Wisconsin, one of our great Trump states. And cake, we all love cake. Cheesecake Factory is as American as the bald eagle or like apple cake pie. It's so American.
And that got me thinking about the reporter. I want you guys to listen. So I'm going to play it a couple times. I just want you to listen to the deduction. Think about what reporting does nowadays, right? Like, they will go live on air and speculate anything, anytime anymore. Nobody cares. It's just, it's about being first. It's not about the facts, whether or not they're right, because first mover advantage matters.
Sounds like from your experience, you see someone actually walking away with a cheesecake there after the Cheesecake Factory was looted. Unclear where they may have gotten that.
So wait a minute here. The Cheesecake Factory is looted. You see somebody walking away from the looted Cheesecake Factory with said cheesecake, and your response is unclear where they got that. You wonder, like, that came out, it felt like I knew it was coming out. I was like, that's not going to be good. But let's listen again.
Sounds like from your experience, you see someone actually walking away with a cheesecake there after the Cheesecake Factory was looted. Unclear where they may have gotten that.
I'm going to go. And this is a huge speculation on my part, and there's a chance I could be wrong. I think they got the cheesecake from the Cheesecake Factory. Put it out there. 323-538-2423. Have a good rest of your day. Smile, laugh, be kind to one another. We'll do it again tomorrow. Is that? Oh, it is. I see Friday. Night-night, Jack.
This is the Chad Benson Show.